What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Drop. And I'll tell you what, I'm psyched on this. I talk about my goosebumps a lot. Look at them. You can see them. That's how excited I am about this show. Because Eazy, like, he was one of the first dudes I met here at the network. And I'm like, dude, I got to get you on the show at some point. We got to get you on the show. And we're going to do it on the, I think it was the 28th of last month, but it was the NFL draft. And he's like, man, I'm going to be burning the midnight oil for days on this one, so we'll set up another date. So I'm stoked you guys are here to learn. You know, on this show, as you're learning, most of the time I'm learning, and you'll see it if you pay attention. I know you'll be paying attention to everything that this gentleman says. But if you look at my face, sometimes I'm like, what? Like, I'm learning as you're learning, so it's super fun. You know, get out your pen and paper because there's always some nugget of wisdom that comes out of the drop-in. It's coming. It's coming somewhere. I can't predict it, but it happens, and usually I'll go, that's what you need to write down and remember. So I want to thank you guys. We do this show for you. You are the reason I have been doing this show. And actually, this is a special episode. I didn't even tell you about this. Uh-oh. This is the 300th podcast I've ever done in my life. Started in 2010 from the couch, moved to a network for a while. Now I'm here in this lovely, lovely place here at the Woodward Sports Network, Better Rate Mortgage Studios. It is awesome. I'm so stoked to be here. And without too much more of me running my mouth, Eazy, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. You had real goosebumps, by the way. For anyone that likes watching, like, those are real. Those are real. I'm like here in person in HD. It was a thing.
They happen, and I get excited, and I love what I do, man. I love what I do, and the energy to be around other positive people, it resonates. And it makes the hair stand up on my whole body, and that's why I was psyched to have you on the show, man, because every time I come in, you're smiling, you're always cool, you're greeting, you give out positive energy, and I want to know your story, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you.
First, I want to ask you, where does the name Eazy come from? Because you're obviously probably your last name, but your name is Daniel Ezerkis?
Ezerkis, yes, yeah. I just say it's my last name now, but honestly, what it came from is, like, I started my podcast in the quarantine. Actually, no, it was my last name. I asked my buddy to give me, like, a name, help me out with the name. He said to speak easy, and I was like, that's perfect. So it does stem from my last name, but ever since then, I was about to go by the name Papi Chulo. What? Yeah, because that's like what I was called, like, when I worked sales at True Green. I did well for myself, but, like, I mean, I'm mixed of ethnicity. You know what I'm saying? So, like, people are always throwing, like, random guesses out there. I've been Hawaiian, I've been Samoan, I've been everything. But they always, the whole entire time I was there, they thought I was, like, Hispanic. So they were calling me Papi Chulo, and I was like, I'm not, but that's a cool nickname, so I'll take it. But we moved away from that because when I was interviewing athletes and stuff like that, people weren't as comfortable calling me Papi because they were easy. And Eazy just came easy because Speak Easy podcast.
Right.
So that's how I was born.
Well, there you go. Now you know the story. So when you check out his podcast, which we'll be talking about later in the show, you'll understand where the name comes from. So getting right into it, you grew up in the Metro Detroit area.
Yes.
Specifically Mount Clemens. I always like to know how people were in school because, like, for me in school, I was a quiet punk rock kid. Like, nobody even knew I played hockey, nothing.
Yeah.
And so how were you in school? Was it easy, hard for you? How was it?
I was a class clown. For sure, a class clown, yeah. Probably elementary school a little bit different. I was a little bit pudgier, chubbier kid, so, like, I got in a lot of fights. My mom always said you don't start it, but you finish it, so, like, I'd always would hit back, or, like, I would never be bullied because it'd be, it'd come down to the blows or whatever. But as I matured, I lost a little bit of weight, started playing football and stuff like that, and I moved from Mount Clemens School District to Fraser, then L'Anse Creuse North. So it's kind of like, there's like, Mount Clemens isn't like the nicest area, especially back then, like where I was. So, like, moving to Fraser was like a step up, but then L'Anse Creuse North. So I just met all kinds of different people, I guess what I'm trying to say. And so I kind of just meshed with everybody, but still always clowned. I was always a class clown, for sure.
Well, if you can make people laugh, sometimes it breaks the ice. You're like,
sure.
Man, don't mess with that dude. He's just cool.
Yeah. Even my teachers, I get them, like, laughing, or if they're mad, I'd say something, witty back, and they couldn't help but to, like, laugh at it. So always a class clown.
Yeah, it works. It definitely works. And you mentioned football, and from an early age, you're into sports, entertainment, and in high school, I was interested to read this in your bio that you started performing hip hop and skits. Which one came first?
Yeah. Hip hop, the rapping part of it. It was actually kind of crazy because, or maybe it was the skits. I'm not sure. I was in a film editing class, and that's kind of where the skits came from. And we just had fun. It was kind of like I guess a Saturday Night Live, but like high school edition.
Oh, cool.
The group of kids that we were with. Shout out to Alex Jacobson and the rest of our group. But like I said, I meshed with a lot of people. I've come from like a little slummy part, and then to like nicer area. I know like Chesterfield isn't the nicest area, but to me, where I was growing up, like it was, I remember going to my friend's like house for the first time, thinking he was rich. Now that I'm older, I'm like, holy shit, that wasn't like a nice house at all. But,
I totally understand, because that's the way I feel going back to my house, to where I grew up, because we grew up in government subsidized housing.
Yes, that's where I grew up too. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's where the rich people live, and now I drive down that street, I'm like, those are like normal houses.
Yeah,
But growing up, same kind of perception of what was what.
Yeah, exactly. I remember like, oh, you have an upstairs? Like, wow. Just weird stuff like that, man. But no, yeah. So my friend, I've always been like supportive of people who like want to do sweet stuff, because like, I don't know, man. I've just always been that way. I couldn't tell you like what the principal root in that was, but I know into my core, like since before I mean, right now I can't even tell you what it was, but I've always been supportive of people. So my friend Previn and this kid Deontay Clark, he's rest in peace, Lil Skate. He's actually passed away now, but they started rapping in school, and I liked rap, So I was like, I actually used to like freestyle it to them at their locker room or at their locker in school, like messing with them. But I want to support them, and I was doing the video editing stuff like that too. So I hopped on, and next thing you know, I was rapping with them, and dude, we're performing. We actually opened up for Crazy Bone our very first show.
No way.
Yeah, my friend Previn Jones, he really, really shy kid. He's phenomenal. Like, he's talented, and he really can like write and rap really well. But he froze up. He was because he's always sheltered guy. And then I just remembered, man, I just pushed him, just like a rock show, just shoved him like, across the stage, man. He like woke up, and we were like, then we got all hype, and like, dude, it was awesome. That's one thing I think like for the rest of my life, I always enjoy performing. It's like a different version of me, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty fun to do.
Well, and it's cool to get the energy from the crowd. For me, growing up playing hockey and at a pretty high level, when that whole crowd is, even when they're hating you, like that energy just fuels you. But usually when they're cheering for you, you just feel that, and it just makes you wanna even go over and above whatever you're already doing.
It literally charges you up. Like, I remember that specific show. We're 16 years old, and we're like a bar with like grown-ass people.
16 years old. I love it. See, that's one of the nuggets right there, because you never know where you're going to end up when you're following your passion and you're following your heart, where you're going to end up. 16 years old playing like a really a pretty big show for their first show.
Very first show, yeah. But I remember I'm just talking shit. I just got the jolt, So I'm like, clap your hands. And I told people in the back, like, get up, clap your hands. Everyone started clapping. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing it. It was pretty cool, man. But yeah, and we did do well and continued to book a lot of shows. And I think it was because, I don't think it was because of the music, but it was because of the energy we brought on stage. Like, I almost like to think of it as like a rock show a little bit, because I like to get a little rough. And like I said, push Previn the first show. And that's how we jolted up. So ever since then, it was a routine, just kind of like, rough him up a little bit on stage, just get the crowd going, and that was always fun, man. I don't ever like regret anything or want to like wish that I did something different, because I am who I am, because of the choices I made. But there are times I'm like, damn, I was really like doing that at 16. Like, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. Like, imagine if I had like really, pursued it or thought more of it, as I did back then. But no, definitely good times, man. Definitely made me.
And it's cool looking back on stuff, and you're like, man, I was in it. I was doing it at the time, when sometimes when you're so close to it, you don't even recognize what you're doing. And then looking back, you're like, man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, I had tons of fun, man.
Well, you brought up during the quarantine, starting a podcast. In the last couple of years been difficult for everybody, and a lot of people have been shifting gears, doing different things, even things they've never done before. They're like, man, I'm going to throw it at the wall, see if it sticks. You know, you had to do a little soul searching yourself because you made quite a shift during that. And what made you decide to get into podcasting or doing those?
Oh man, it's like the first time I like kind of talked about this. I mean, I've had, but jokingly, like little social bits. But I was in jail for like 30 days, and I had a son like 2 weeks before that. I think it was like 45 days or something like that. But nonetheless, my life. Did you have any kids?
I do not.
There
Two
is
stepsons.
Yeah.
But I've never procreated.
Yeah. There's nothing like that feeling. Like, I mean, I know you're 5 years in, but like, have you ever did shrooms before?
I have not, but a lot of friends said they want to do like a controlled thing with me with shrooms or ayahuasca or something. They're like, you're so into your spirituality and what you're doing. They're like, we want to do it with you. And I'm like, one day, maybe in a controlled environment, we'll do it, but I haven't yet. I haven't experienced that.
When I had my son, it was like that feeling. It was like I started living life. Like my life, I get emotional, man. I'm sorry. It's like I wasn't living life before he was born. I don't even know what the fuck I was doing. I was just like wandering around aimlessly, like I guess trying to make money and fuck people. Like I really don't know what the fuck I was doing. But then my son was born and it gave me like purpose, man. Like I have like a legacy to live for, and I just never forget like holding him, and that shit hit me. But then I went to jail, which fucking sucked. For not even like it's a whole situation that like I moved past, but I was with another girl when I got Bryson's mom pregnant, and so I had to break that off, and she was not wasn't pleasant. It was kind of this Amber Heard stuff. It was that.
Really?
It was crazy, man. I could go on and on about that, but that's negative stuff. But coming out of jail, I was like, damn, dude, like what am I gonna do? Like I'm so embarrassed to even go apply somewhere and then have like somebody ask me that question, like, hey, like, I see you have this on your record, like, again, because of the whole like Amber Heard situation, I don't want to like seem like I'm lying and like, no, it's not like that, and like I just was so ashamed by that. And I was like, well, I can work for myself. Like people work for themselves all the time, and this guy named Jocko Willink, he's a Marine, or no, he's a Navy SEAL is what he is. But he's kind of like uplifting kind of thing. His thing's accountability. And that's why I kind of shifted my mind towards is like just being accountable. And at that same time, right before quarantine, if you remember, Kobe Bryant passed away.
Yep.
And his whole thing was like talking about legacy. And obviously I felt that when I held my son. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna give my fucking son something to be proud of. Like I'm gonna like fucking like come back from this shit. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck's. Happiness is fleeting, but I also want to put myself in situations where I'm gonna be happy. And I like talking to people like you do. I like talking sports. I like just bullshit and laughing. So I was like, I'm gonna start podcasting. I've always liked Joe Rogan, and I scrapped Plan B, man. I don't know how I did so well. I don't know I don't think that I'm better than anyone, but I think I was just hungrier or something like that. Like there was just no like I was just set on that happening, And I just did podcasts, kept getting like amazing guests. Amazing guests that I can't get today. Try to get them, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was doing it from my basement on my laptop, like sitting on a couch, a dusty, dirty old couch, the basement couch, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And like it just kept booming, man. But yeah, the whole thing though was creating like legacy, and I did at one point have like a little bit of vengeance in me to like want to like, I guess, talk about the judicial system and the way what I experienced before I went to jail. Because I actually had a bench trial, and that's like when like there's no jury, it's just the judge, and the judge that I had was judges are elected. They don't have to have like any type of experience in law. So I did the research and homework on my judge that I had. I'm like, oh my god, this guy, I don't want to get too specific. This guy fucking just literally ran to be the first of his kind to be the judge. I'm like, what the like? It blew my mind, man. But yeah, that was part of the drive, the legacy thing, and just like, I don't know, just putting myself in situations where I can be happy, and I want my kids to like brag about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, be proud about me. And I feel like there's only two ways to do it. Either like do something sweet like this or music, because music lasts forever, man. I couldn't tell you an actor from the 50s, but I'm singing Michael Jackson. My kids gonna sing Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just wanted to build a legacy and just give my kids something to brag about. And it just drove me to hear it. Well, we're sports now, man.
Well, and you're never, we're never really sure what that catalyst is going to be, and we were talking before we came on the air about, I mentioned my sobriety, and it sucks. It was hell. I freaking hated it, and I don't wish it on anybody. I went hard for 6 years. I was pretty straight edge, and I thought vodka could solve it, and I went hard. I mean, 2 fifths a day, 3 rehabs, insane asylum, freaking, I went for it. But coming out the other side, I am the best version of myself I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And the drive and the passion to do what I love to do, which is inspire people any way I can. If it's writing books, podcasts, in this show, I'm already psyched. I'm like, this is top 10 ever right now, just because the stories you're telling are what resonates with our audience. That we don't wake up with a golden spoon in our mouth and go, yeah, it's great. We have to go through some challenges and some different things, and you're never really sure what that thing to poke you in the direction you're supposed to be going is. And for you, having a child and then seeing the inside of a jail cell, you're like, I don't want that. I want more of this. And nothing is going to stop me from getting that.
Yes, exactly. And like, I'm not, I'm spiritual. I'm not too religious, but like just the positive affirmation stuff like that. Sometimes you have to tell yourself like every morning when you're in those type of funks. And that's what I did with the guy, Jocko Willink was his name. That's why I like you so much, because I know that you're that for somebody, which I think is super dope. And I wanted to be that person, and I was that when I initially started out, but kind of caught up in the mess now. But I still, anytime like it does spark in me to speak up on that stuff, I do. But no, man, I think I just want to say this because it's like the quote that kind of like would help me, and I'd listen to it, and I'd fucking cry too. But it's like no matter how bad the storm is, the sun shines on the other side. Sorry, dude. Fuck. But no, that shit helped me, man, because it's true. Like, no matter how bad that shit is, the sun's at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna fucking suck. The storm's gonna like fuck your house up and like flip over your car, but the fucking sun's there at the end of the day, and you start not the end of the night into the storm, whatever, but the day starts over again.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna be happy again. It's gonna suck again. You're gonna be happy again. Just fucking. You just gotta know that's the ride, man, and you gotta enjoy the fucking happiness as much as you hate the fucking shitty stuff.
Yeah, nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent, and the rad thing, you brought up affirmations, and I used to think they were BS. I'm like, whatever. I did fake it till I made it for a long time, but affirmations. The cool thing about our brains is it doesn't know the difference between your imagination and reality. So as you imagine those affirmations, your brain thinks it's real and starts like making physiological changes in different ways you operate. And there's science to back it up. They really work, and no matter what they are, if it's daily kind of things, envisioning where you want to be in 5 years, in a year, tomorrow, whatever. And what you said is so true, that no matter how bad today is, we get the opportunity to reset every 24 hours.
Every 24 hours, man. It's honest to God, like it's the one that helped me push through the most, and that's why I remember it. I might even get this thing fucking tattooed on me, but yeah, man, like no matter how bad the storm, the sun's on the other side of it. The sun shines through at the end of it, and this is true. Just remember that.
And so you have a little bit of an epiphany. You're doing this banging podcast. How did you meet Sam Day? Actually, man. I know how you met Sam Day. Before we get into that, jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu.
Like, he met Sam Day. Sam Day has been on this show. You can look it up. You can get his story, whatever. He's one of the heavy hitters that helped get this place started. But when in the bio, through your jiu-jitsu coach, what got you into jiu-jitsu, and are you still doing it at all? Because that's crazy stuff, man.
I want to get back into it so bad, man. I love jiu-jitsu. It's martial arts in general, man. Nothing's gonna like. I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff that replicate life, but like, you get your ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? Like you get your ass kicked. And at the end of the round, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? You learn from it. Okay, I'm not going to do this again because last time, you almost broke my arm. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's just, jiu-jitsu especially too, because it's a grappling mixed martial art. So like, tight spaces where you're being choked. Like, you're literally fighting for your life. I mean, obviously you can tap out and just be done, but like, you learn to breathe and maneuver yourself through, obviously, the training, but like, out of those situations, or, just stop and rest. Even the chaotic, fucking stressful moment it may be, you have to be calculated to remove yourself from it.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, though. There's some freak athletes out there that like do some crazy shit. Like, you know, they could pop out of it, but they still, you obviously have to learn the basis of it, you know. But yeah, no, jiu-jitsu, it helped me literally, like, obviously physically at one point. I'm not a little bigger now than I was then, but mentally too. But yeah, my guy Chris Wisniewski, he owns Allegiance Gym in Sterling Heights now, and he actually went to high school with Stick. And maybe they're fishing for a sponsor with Chris. And that's the one cool thing about Chris too, is like he owns Allegiance Gym and runs it, but it's not like for profit. He needs it himself, you know, and he knows it's that place. And it's so cool too, because like cops, people who've been in jail, people who've like been in prison, like women who've been assaulted, like we all meet there and we all go through like the, I guess, trials and tribulations of mixed martial arts. Because like when you start, you get your ass kicked. Doesn't matter who you are, you get your ass kicked, you know. So you've been humbled, and no matter how good you are, you still remember those, you know, the times you've been humbled. Right. And you lose rounds too. No matter how good you are, like you're gonna lose a couple rounds. Like everyone's humble and everyone's like uplifting because like, hey, I'll help you with that, you know, because they've been there. But yeah, Chris, I don't know how they linked up, but I remember I saw on Chris's Instagram story that he was here in the studio. And then yeah, I saw him at the gym later that night, and he's like, hey, man, like, you know, my buddy Sam, he's doing this cool thing in Birmingham called Woodward Sports, and they got like some big money behind it. Is like, dude, you should get your podcast on there. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. Because at that time, I was literally just doing my podcast kind of just blindly and like almost for my sanity. Not sanity, I wasn't going crazy or nothing like that, but keep me happy. It made me happy talking to like people, talking to like talked to professional athlete Glover Quinn's when it hit me. Was like, he told me his story. He was I'm trying to think, junior college is what it's called. Before, and then he ended up going to NFL Pro Bowl. But you know, I listened to a story. I'm like, holy shit! Like, he wasn't born like a super stud athlete. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like normal ass dude, and he just fucking, you know, zoned in on the mission. And it came same thing. You know, like you said, like your mind, you could make that switch, and it's fucking true, man. And it's more than him. My friend Tyler. I mean, countless athletes that I interviewed while I was in my basement. I realized they were normal people. They just hit a switch.
I always think of Earl Boykins. Like, I love the Earl Boykins story. I don't know if you know who Earl Boykins is, but he was a walk-on in Eastern. Dude's 5'7".
Yeah.
And he ends up having this long career in the NBA.
Why?
Yeah, he played for, I don't know, probably 5 or 10 teams. But whenever anybody asks me, they're like, you watch basketball? I'm like, no, but I do like Earl Boykins.
Yeah,
it's more about the story. And you know, when you do have that vision, you have that drive and that feeling that nothing's going to stop me. For me, one of the coolest things about that is oftentimes we don't reach that goal. But the journey, we learn so much, and then that's that crooked line, and then you end up like starting a podcast because you love doing it. Now you're here at WSN.
Yeah.
You're doing all kinds of stuff, meeting the raddest people. I mean, it's crazy to think for some of our viewers that, you know, you're sitting, you know, we'll be sitting here doing this show, and celebrities walk by. Yeah. And you're like, hey, what's up? You know, and they're like, Garold, what's going on? And I'm like, crazy to me even. Like, I'm like, I get to sit here and do this, and it's just from being passionate and being authentic.
Yes.
And being yourself.
Yes. But yeah, pretty much I was kind of just doing it to, you know, get the stories and like, I guess, pump myself up my journey, because I wasn't making money. I was running out of my stimulus a little bit and whatever else, and all my investment stuff like that. So I'm like, dude, I got to get paid for doing this if I really want to do this, and this is an opportunity. So I hit up Sam and Stick, same guy. And there's a couple of times I was doing it, and he told me, yeah, but dude, starting a business, just being at the startup here, just working as a member, it's fucking crazy all the time, you know. Yeah. You may have a conversation with someone, hey, I was, you know, talk to you, we'll get this done, but you're on to something else, and something else that piles up. So I understand how my stuff got lost in the shuffle, but I started clipping their show clips the same way I would do mine. And I think it's part of like actually what helped me grow my podcast was clips. But stuff that I thought was funny, I'd clip and I post on like social media, and they're like, hey, can you, like, we want you to do that for us. And I was like, all right, yeah, like, that's my foot in the door. I can do that for you. And yeah, I got in and kind of just was able to showcase my talents and what I do. And now I'm here as a content creator now too, because like I said, I didn't start that way. Initially, I was cutting clips and doing YouTube and stuff like that, and I was able to, you know, showcase myself and what I have content wise as well, to where now I can just, you know, make content. I still help out though and do everything else, but
so the heavyweights, you know, when you did start getting that going, Did you want to do a solo show? Was it easy to pair up? Like, how did that work?
I was actually very nervous about this because I'd only done a solo show. You know, I've only ever like reached out to people, and it wasn't always like a super like famous athlete or celebrity like that. Maybe someone I like admired. Like, people like you. You know what I'm saying? Because I like I said, I needed to like trying to think of a freaking superhero or villain who like sucks somebody else's powers, but that's what it gave me, man. It's like it was like rev me up, like hell yeah, like I don't know, it just kept me going. So that's what I was doing, and then I knew here I wasn't. Everybody here wants to do a show, right? But like I don't know, I just feel like you're better as a team. You know what I'm saying? In general, like this whole network, you know what I'm saying, is a team in itself.
Especially, when you find somebody or a group of people where the chemistry is the same.
Yes, and that's
the best.
Exactly, and that's what was with Spence. Is like we had chemistry, and I felt like that we could run like a just 2-man show, have fun, make wiener jokes, and make people laugh.
Yeah.
Like for an hour or two, and we've been doing it, and thankfully we're kicking some ass, man. And I was nervous though about the pairing, just because I hadn't done it before. Not that I didn't mesh with Spencer or anything at all, and nothing like that. It's just I hadn't done that before, consistently, and it was a big investment because I'm like, hey, me and this kid are gonna do the show, and it's gonna kick ass, and I had no prior experience with this kid kicking ass, but now we're doing it, and we have a freaking picture now, man. Like, look at this.
I know, that's so awesome, and it is a balance. It's a balance, especially when there's two people. In the past, like Johnny Carson, he had Ed McMahon, but that was just sidekick. He wasn't really a big part of the show. He was, but he wasn't. Johnny Carson carried the show, and for the heavyweights, it's a good balance.
Yeah.
Nobody's stepping on the other guy or trying to take over or anything like that.
Yeah.
I feel anyway.
No, yeah, it's good, and then like just like in the business itself, I feel like I don't know if it's call this the business. I don't know what the business is, but I feel like here to like, I guess, fight for the opportunity, you would have to have a partner because it's easier to do it that way than versus like just yourself.
Yeah.
Because if it's just yourself, you kind of sound. I knew that I was coming off this way, but again, just because I had that crazy switch where I believed in myself, and as well as like the stuff that I did, that I can do it, but I was coming off as like brash or arrogant or like I was full of myself. But I am full. I know I can fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're fucking doing it. I got so, but it was easier to like, I don't know, not seem like a dick if I had like a partner and we're like, hey, we want to do this,
Right.
Versus like, I deserve this,
And we're gonna go over it many times, but if any of our viewers want to watch the Woodward Heavyweights, what's the easiest way for them to get there?
I would recommend YouTube. YouTube's probably where we're most active. We're pretty active on Twitter too, but like our content, if you want, in terms of like, if you want to microdose in a clip, we have clips, and obviously we have the whole like hour-long shows formats as well too. So even like 60-second clips too. We're kind of crushing it right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool to see.
That's very cool. Well, we've covered a lot actually, and I want to thank you guys once again for joining us. I mean, you better be writing so much down. Actually, up here, writing it down.
Yeah.
Just the struggles and the passion and the drive and the laser focus. Not really knowing what was going to happen with the podcast. And next thing you know, jiu-jitsu coach and Sam, and now all of a sudden he's here and creating the network here, I think is just as important. And when I say network, I'm talking about the personalities. You got McCarty coming through, and he's always like, what's up? He's so positive about whatever you're doing. He's such a rad vibrational person. And I mean, you're like that though. And I said it in the beginning. When I said I wanted to have you on the show, you vibrate at a good what is it, megahertz? I'll say gigawatts, because that's a great movie, Back to the Future. But you give off this good vibration, and
appreciate that, man.
I didn't ask every single person in here to be on the show.
Yeah, it's true. That's actually true. Yeah, you're right.
And I just see great things happening. Do you have any big things for the heavyweights coming up? And is there anything huge coming up for the network itself? I mean, the network always has things going on.
Yeah, for sure. We're constantly growing, man. Like, we've only been around a year, but I don't know if like there's some stuff in the works for the heavyweights, in the network himself. So I just don't know if I'm allowed to like speak on it yet. To be honest with you, we're still like in talks. But yeah,
well, then they have to stay tuned, man.
Yeah, definitely have to stay tuned, man. Definitely have to stay tuned. What were you gonna say? Go ahead.
I was just you keep going, then I'll ask my question.
No, go ahead. Ask your question.
Well, I wanted to ask you. For me, I get so enthralled by every guest on the show. I mean, all 300. I all the time, like, man, that's the best show we've ever done, you know?
Yeah.
And is there any other guests that stand out for you other than who you already mentioned that you've been able to interview? Somebody that really stands out that you thought was so rad?
Glover Quinn was one. I know I mentioned that earlier. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, though. Not any off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Kendra Lust was cool, but that one's just more memorable because of, like, she got me, like, a big step to my following because I don't know if you know what that is. She's like she's an adult film star.
Okay.
But she also she really likes MMA, and because she knew my jiu-jitsu coach as well.
Oh, cool.
So that's how we linked up, and so she got me a big step in, like, my niche and target audience I needed to be because, like, one, obviously guys know who she is, and if they like sports, they definitely, like, know who she is, you know. So it's like 2 chunks of, like, what I do. Well, not porn, but
Yet.
But yeah,
There's a lot of yets in the world.
well,
There's a lot of yets. Just saying. We'll leave it at that.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't want to go there.
I use it all the time in skateboarding because kids will go, you know, I can't ever do that. And I said, yet. And I actually took a bunch of Yeti stickers that I found and I cut the eye off.
Yeah.
So it just says yet. And there's one on almost every board I ride.
That's really cool.
I never say never. Like, yet. It hasn't happened yet.
1,000%.
Because you just don't know what the future holds. The stories you've told today, you don't know. You don't know sitting in that jail cell, like what's on the other side. You don't know when you start a podcast if anybody's ever going to watch it. But we do it because we love to do what we're doing, and the viewers will come.
Yeah.
You know, they'll come.
And that's the craziest part too, man. Like back when I was sitting on a bucket on the phone, like talking to my mom or like a friend or something like that, like there's no way in hell I'd been like, wait, someone's gonna want to interview me, or I'm gonna like interview these people, or like I'm gonna work with Darren McCarty and freaking Brandon Edward. Like,
Right.
It's wild, man. But it's the power of the mind, like you said. That's what I did want to say earlier. Is the power of the mind. Is like you think about, and this is probably maybe like a negative part of it, but like people with, like schizophrenia or like DID, like the fact that mind's like that powerful to like create that in someone's head, I think just speaks to like the power of it. And if you're able to hone it in or just let it loose a little bit so you can be creative or whatever, like I really feel like you could do almost anything.
We could talk for hours about that because I've been reading and studying that for about a decade now.
Yeah.
And I'll give one example. When I broke my leg, I broke the little bone in my leg in half. Mm-hmm. And then when I went back for the follow-up, I had chipped off the bottom half of the big bone. And he had put more screws in. And he's like, it happened June, second week of July was second surgery. And he's like, you might be walking by October. Well, one of the guys I study is a gentleman named Dr. Joe Dispenza, and feel free to look him up. You Are the Placebo, Becoming Superhuman, some great books. But I knew his philosophy. So throughout that first couple months, I'd be doing mental workouts. I could feel my muscles working in the cast. I would envision myself skating again, doing this again, doing that again. August 27th, he said I might be walking by the end of October. August 27th, he cut my cast off. And this is one of the best surgeons, like Red Wing stuff all over. It's like Red Wing surgeon guy. Yeah. And he was like, I don't know what you do, Garold, but you're good. You're healed. And I said, what about physical therapy? And he shook my ankle around. He's like, again, I'm not sure what you do.
That's wild.
But you don't even have to go to physical therapy if you don't want to. And so as we think, so shall we be, which is actually a Bruce Lee quote. A lot of people take credit for that. As you think, so shall you become is the actual Bruce Lee quote. And it's the truth. As you think, so shall you be. And so many times our inner monologue is, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? You can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we believe. We can think, no, I can do anything. I can succeed at anything if I want to put the work in, put the effort in, and keep a positive attitude.
And like too, like say that your dream is to be like the biggest movie star or rock star, you know, like you still like you put yourself in that environment, and you may not like be that movie rock star or whatever the hell you wanted to be before, but you're in that environment and you're working along with those people or in that place that you wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you just sit back and like enjoy that even. It's like, what the hell?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even like when I was trying, because obviously I want to do the podcast thing. I wanted to be, I can't say Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan's wild, but actually, yeah, I'll steal that from you. But I still, I was working with freaking Darren McCarty and like Brandon Edwards still, you know? So it's like, I don't know, man. Just point to where you want to go and like go and like just power of mind, man. Don't like just believe in yourself. Like don't waver.
And celebrate the little wins. Oftentimes we forget that.
Yeah.
And I'm still like you, like my mom. I always tell her, I'm like, I'll never forget like the first time a pro skateboarder called my house, and my mom's like, Bill Danforth's on the phone, because she knew I'm like, I've been drawing pictures of him. Hey Bill, what's up? But like when McCarty will like text me on like New Year's Eve, Happy New Year's. And I'm like, I'm still a child, because I like screenshot it. I'm like, you can call him, you dumbass. Like, you can call him. I'm screenshotting it and putting it in my little archives, because I'm still a child. I'm still like 14,
Yeah.
I'm just stuck in this 50-year-old body. But never lose that. Like, I never want to lose that childlike enthusiasm about the things that I'm doing.
Dude, don't. I mean, like, happiness is fleeting. It's like when you get it, like I said, enjoy it, because like, it's going to flip-flop,
There's an ebb and flow in life, man.
Yeah, Darren says all the time, actually.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. You're gonna have your ups and downs, I think one of the most important things along my journey is celebrate those little wins. Don't always. I think it's Dr. Wayne Dyer says, the people that are striving, but never arriving, because they reach the first goal and they already make the next goal. They don't even celebrate that first little success. And take the time to celebrate the little successes, because that's just going to catapult you to the next, whatever it is that you want to do in your life. And, what in the perfect world, what do you see the heavyweights doing?
I would still would like the podcast, but I also like to do more man the street videos, or like prank videos.
Yeah.
A couple of those things are always fun to do. And I think it helps get our names out there too when you're meeting people and, establishing like a relationship, and they're like, yo, what do you do? Like, they find out about the heavyweights. So probably some more stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. Maybe a little more interviews too.
Yeah. I like meeting people. I like hearing people's stories. And so I think the drop in, even if I'm doing it from my basement, it'll always be going, because I love this. Like, energizes me for the freaking next 3 days. I'll be thinking about this. And that's, I love, even if I have one viewer on the show, I don't even care, because I love doing what we do.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is living passionately and doing what you do. And it sounds like, everything you're doing now, that it's a passion. It's, you love what you're doing, and you're learning along the way.
Dude, it's fucking crazy. I'm gonna get emotional again, but yeah, I wanted to come on here because I wanted to be able to tell people, I was so embarrassed by the jail thing, and I still am. But I did play a part of it. I was accountable in like that whole situation going down, but like I don't know, man. To flip it around has been like amazing, and like, because I was just,
in a matter
I was
of
just
a
down,
couple years,
dude. A year.
How long you been here?
A year.
A year, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
A year.
I started
Complete shift.
June 2020. When was quarantine? 2020, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. June 2020 is when the podcast first started, and then I landed here in February 2021.
Wow, that is so awesome.
Fucking wow, man. Yeah. But power of mind, positive belief, and just like passion, have an actual drive. I think that's part of it too. Like my son, like I said, man, it's like I fucking started living a whole new life.
Yeah.
I literally I'm blessed.
And you just never know what that catalyst is going to be to cause, some internal shift that cause you to look at life a little different. I know children do that for a lot of people. Cause you look at life a little different, because now you don't just live for yourself.
Yeah, living for him is like. It's like if I died today, my son like carries my name, and like and all the lessons and experiences that I gave him, and like if they're positive ones, and then he could help spread that to other people, and he'll be like, hey, my dad, he's the one that taught me to be happy, or like, hey, the sun's at the end of that storm, no matter how bad it is. Like, it's my dad always used to tell me that, and like, this is your fucking legacy. Like, you're literally leaving something on earth, because we're not here forever, So if you could leave an impact on the world and the earth, a positive one especially, like, dude, do it. Like, because, like, when you're down, it sucks, man. So I want to help make people happy,
Yeah. Well, one more time, best way for them to find you on YouTube?
Woodward Heavyweights on YouTube. You'll see it. It's this picture, me and my boy Spinny. And catch us on social media, too, WHW Pod, POD.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome here anytime. And I'm already
sure.
thinking, I'm like, man, Eazy and I should be doing
Because I
want to
get some of your story too, man. Like,
we should be doing a show, dude. We should be doing a show about the power of thought and mind and all that kind of stuff. And I'm
down, man.
I'm already scheming. I'm already mentally scheming and taking notes. So I think there's something you and I can do together.
Cool.
But I want to thank all of you for spending time here with us, and hopefully you took some notes, mental notes, you wrote them down, because his story, my story, can be your story. You can make a shift like this, and within from starting a podcast 2 years ago to a year ago, getting introduced to Sam, you never know where that's going to come from. You never know. And that's why just be cool to everybody. Hold the door for anybody you can. Man, say hello. How are you doing? It's a huge network. We are all connected. Yep. And I think Eazy's story exacerbates that with the jiu-jitsu coach making the introduction. Now you're here with Sam. Now you're meeting. You never know what's going to happen next week. You don't know who you're going to meet. I mean, I'm like, no way Braylon Edwards is here, because I'm still a child.
Calvin Johnson, freaking Coach Casey, Kate Cunningham, like all these people I've met, bumped shoulders with. Like, it's been amazing, man.
Awesome experience. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. You're welcome here at the Drop-In anytime, man.
I want to come back because I want your story, man.
We'll get it. We'll get it at some point.
All
You're
right.
the second guest in the last 2 months who's like, man, somebody needs to interview you, man. We need to interview you. I said, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But I want to thank you guys. Make sure to share, like, all that kind of stuff. We need to make positivity go viral.
Be a friend, tell a friend.
And that's what we're doing here, is making positivity go viral. And so with that, this is Eazy. I am Garold, and this is The Drop-In.